Welcome students. Uh, in this lecture, we'll try to solve some of the problems based on the fundamental laws and the subsidiary laws that we have seen on conduction, convection and radiation. So let us take the first problem. An insulated steam pipe passes through a room in which the air and walls are at 25 degrees centigrade. The outside diameter of the pipe is 70 millimeter and its surface temperature and emissivity are 200 degrees centigrade and 0.8 respectively. What are the surface emissive power and irradiation? And if the coefficient associated with free convection heat transfer from the surface to the air is 15 watt per meter square Kelvin, then what is the rate of heat loss from the surface per unit length of the pipe? Okay, so it is given that the pipe geometry like pipe diameter is known, emissivity is given, surface temperature in a room, the fixed wall, and it is given the air temperature. So these are the informations which are given. So these are known quantities. Now what are the things that we have to find? We have to find the surface emissive power and irradiation, the first part, and the second part we have to find out the rate of heat loss per unit length of the pipe. Okay, so these are the two things that we have to find out. And as I have told you, the schematic is the most important one. So let us try to see the schematic of the problem. So here you can see this one is the pipe. So here you can see pipe, and you see this is the diameter of the pipe which is given. So you draw the schematic of the physical system, you show in that schematic all the given quantities. You see this one D, capital D is the, it has been symbolized, okay, and its value is given, so it is written in that way. Okay, the surrounding temperature is 25 degrees centigrade, that is of the air. T infinity is the symbol that has been used, and H, that is also given. Okay, that is the convective heat transfer coefficient H. And you see that surrounding temperature, because the wall also having the same surrounding temperature, that is 25 degrees centigrade, and that is why it is given that the wall is also at the same temperature. Here you see the length of the pipe, it is given L, but no values of L has been given in the problem, so only L is given, written there. Now what you have, you can see that some irradiation is coming. The irradiation is G, which is coming from the surrounding to the pipe. The surface temperature of the outer surface of the pipe, which is known, 200 degrees centigrade, and the pipe emissivity is given 0.8, and definitely some emission that is because of its temperature is going out from the pipe, steam pipe, to the surrounding air. So this is what is the schematic, and you have to find out what is the rate of heat loss per unit length. You see the symbol that is used for the unit length is Q prime, because you know that Q is the rate of heat transfer. This is the symbol. Q prime is the rate of heat transfer per unit length, and heat flux, you remember, double dashed is rate of heat transfer per unit area. Similarly, you will find that Q triple dashed is equal to rate of heat transfer per unit volume, like this. Okay, so these are the standard notations which are used. So your final answer is very clear, it will be in watt per unit length. Okay, so let us now try to see what are the assumptions that we are considering. Here you see the first assumption that has been considered is the steady state condition. Steady state condition means that with respect to time, all these temperature which are mentioned are not going to change. So it is in a steady state condition. So its surface temperature is not going to change with respect to time. anymore. Okay, so the properties are not changing with respect to time, so it's a steady state condition, is the first thing. The second one is the radiation exchange between the pipe and the room in between is between a small surface and a much larger enclosure. This is the assumption. This is the assumption that the surface of the pipe is a very small one and the surrounding is a large surrounding. Okay, so if you consider this assumption, then basically you can approximate this G, if you remember, by sigma into T surrounding to the power 4. So that you can write if you assume this one. That is why this is again another assumption. Third one is the surface emissivity and the absorptivity are equal. I have told you that the Kirchhoff's law is the emissivity is equal to absorptivity, and that is true for the gray and diffuse surface in general, but that is basically the assumption. We are considering the surface to be gray and diffuse, which means the Kirchhoff's law epsilon is equal to alpha. This is the thing. Now under this assumption, let us try to solve the problem. What is the first thing that you have to find out? You have to find out what is the first thing is that you have to find out the surface emissive power. Surface emissive power is basically symbolized by E, already you know, by the small e, and the small e is nothing but what? Small e is equal to sigma into epsilon into T to the power 4, where T is the surface temperature of the pipe, Ts to the power 4. Okay, because the black body radiation is sigma into Ts to the power 4, and multiplied by the emissivity of the surface, you will get the emissive flux. That emissive flux, which is called the surface emissive power. Okay, so what is the unit of this? Remember, unit is the unit of the flux, that means watt per meter square. Okay, so the same thing has been done here. You can see epsilon into sigma Ts to the power 4. All these values are given. Epsilon is known, sigma you know, it's a universal constant, and Ts you know, 473 Kelvin. So you have to convert it into Kelvin and you will get the answer. Here you have to remember the value of sigma, which is very important, 5.67 into 10 to the power minus 8. Okay, and the unit is watt per meter square Kelvin to the power 4. Here you see you can remember in that way. You see the numbers 5, 6, 7 and the power is 8. Okay, so 5.67 into 10 to the power minus 8, that might help you to remember the value of sigma. Now coming to the second part, it has been asked to find out what is the irradiation that is coming in the surface. The irradiation we can find out by using this formula, that the Stefan Boltzmann constant into T surrounding to the power 4, because you have assumed that the pipe surface is smaller with respect to large enclosure surrounding. Okay, so it's a simple one. So you have found out irradiation, you have found out the surface emissive power. Now coming to the second part of the question, where you have to find out the heat loss from the pipe. Now heat loss from the pipe, if you see this problem, you tell me that heat loss from the pipe is taking place in two ways. One is by convection, heat is transferred, right? One is Q convection and another one is by radiation. So this Q having two parts, one is convection, another one is radiation. So if you consider the total heat loss Q, that Q can be divided into two parts, one is convection and one part is radiation. And then what we do, we first find out this one, and then we have to find out per unit length, because actually the problem is you have to find out Q prime. So you have to divide both by L. So this is the thing that we are going to do now. And for the Q convection, you know the Newton's law of cooling, that will help you. And Q radiation, you can find out what is the net Q radiation, that you can find out is nothing but the E, value of E into area minus alpha into G into area. This is basically the radiation part. Okay, I am just written the Q radiation part, that means its unit is watt. That is why you see the area is multiplied, because the unit we are considering watt. But if we write it is in flux, then area should be divided. So here it is multiplied by area. And what is the area? This area is the surface area of the pipe. What is the surface area of the pipe? The surface area of the pipe, A, is equal to pi d into length of the pipe. This is what is the area. Okay. And what is the Q convection part? From Newton's law of cooling we know this is H into area into the temperature difference between the surface and the surrounding. So Ts minus T infinity. Remember, here also this A is the surface area, which is pi into d into L. Okay, so this is what is the convection part, and this is what is the radiation part. And this E is what? The E you can write epsilon sigma Ts to the power 4, and alpha you can write as epsilon, G you can write as sigma T surrounding to the power 4, and whole thing multiplied by the area, and that area is pi dl. Okay, so if you just simply put all these data, you will get Q prime, because everything is known, only L is unknown, and if you divide by L in both cases, that L will cancel. So let us see that calculation actually has been done here. That Q, the rate of heat transfer, it has two parts, and you see this is the convection part, that H into Ts minus T infinity, which is the flux, that multiplied by area, which is basically the rate of heat transfer by convection. Here you see the similar way, it is sigma into epsilon into area that has been multiplied, and Ts to the power 4 minus T surrounding to the power 4. Okay, so in this way you find out what is Q. So after getting the value of Q, simply divided by L, that L will cancel, and ultimately you will get this is the answer. So the rate of heat transfer, net rate of heat loss from the pipe, you can see is 998 watt per meter. Now coming to the comments part, and which is very very important. Here you see that, note that the temperature may be expressed in degree centigrade or Kelvin when you are evaluating the convection part, or in case of a conduction you also know you can use both degree centigrade or Kelvin. But when you are considering the radiation part, then remember it has to be converted into Kelvin, which is very very important. The second comment that has been cleared, basically if you find out the radiation part, that actually calculated in this way. So we have explained it how we are considering this thing, and if you calculate this portion only, that radiation part, the radiation per unit length, if you divide it by L, you see that the radiation component is 421 watt per meter, and if you see the total amount is 998. So almost 50-50 kind of a thing, the convection portion and the radiation portion. So in this situation, the radiation and convection are comparable, very much comparable. You cannot neglect the radiation heat transfer. You cannot consider only convection heat transfer, because they both are contributing almost similar value, right? One is 421. So if you see this portion actually contributing 421, and this portion is contributing around 998, means you can see that this portion is almost 500 something, right? 577 or something. So you can get an idea that they are very much comparable. That means you cannot neglect radiation with respect to convection. Okay, the reason is that the temperature difference between Ts and T infinity is very large here, because if the Ts and T infinity, this difference is very large. One is say here it is 25 and Ts was 200, so the difference is very large, and that is the reason that radiation component is also very high. And another point is that the H is not very high here, the H is very small. We have considered only 15 that is given, which is probably for the natural convection only, so it is small. So if H is small and the temperature difference is very high between surrounding and the surface, then might be radiation is also comparable to the convection. But in most of the convection situation, if it is a forced convection, if the H is very high, then you will find that the radiation part is very very small and can be neglected many times. In convection problem, almost you will find that we are neglecting the radiation part, we are not considering the radiation part, because the reason is that H values are very high and the temperature difference might not be very high, and that is why the radiation component will actually become very small. But here in this problem you see that they are comparable. Okay, so these are basically the three comments which has been mentioned here. Now here is another problem. This is a problem related to conduction. I think the wall of an industrial furnace is constructed from 0.15 meter thick fire clay brick having a thermal conductivity 1.7 watt per meter Kelvin, and measurements made during steady state operation reveal temperatures of 1400 and 1150 Kelvin at the inner and the outer surfaces respectively. Then what is the rate of heat loss through a wall that is 0.5 meter by 1.2 meter of a side on a side. So what are the known things? The wall thickness, the temperatures. Okay, so these are given. Property, thermal conductivity is also given, and you have to find out the wall heat loss. So schematic, if you look at the schematic, if the schematic is very good, so that will itself tell you the whole story of the problem. So here you see this is what is the furnace wall, maybe on one side, here maybe the fire side, here maybe the atmospheric side. Okay, so you can see the heat is transferring from that side to this side. Okay, so this portion has been shown here in detail, and we are considering that heat is transferring only in this direction. So this is the kind of assumption that we are considering only in one direction heat is transferring, assuming in the y or z direction the heat is not transferring because they are very long in length, so temperature gradients are very small. This might be the reason. So heat is not transferring in other directions, only heat is transferring in this direction. And here it is known that the inner wall temperature of the furnace, here basically the this side, the fire side of the furnace, and here it is the air side of the furnace probably. So here you see the inner surface temperature is 1400 Kelvin, and here you can see the temperature, this surface temperature is 1150 Kelvin, and the material property thermal conductivity is given. Okay, and you can also see what is the thickness or this particular length, and this direction is considered to be x. Here you see this is the x direction, and that length along the x direction, this length is 0.15 meter. So this length is also known, 0.15 meter. So now the problem is you have to find out what is the heat flux that is coming out, or the rather the specific question is the rate at which the heat is transferring. So you have to find out what is this Q. So your answer will be in watt. So that you have to find out the heat loss. So if you can find out the heat flux, then definitely if you multiplied by that heat flux with the area, heat flux multiplied by this whole area, if you simply multiply, then you will get the Q. Okay, and what is this area? Tell me. That area is nothing but this height, which is H, and this height, which is W. So this area, this area is nothing but H into W. So if you find out the heat flux, then multiplied by this area, you will get the rate of heat loss from the furnace. So this is what is the problem. The problem we have understood, the given quantities we can see. So now let us try to solve this problem. So if you want to solve this problem, what is the equation that we are going to apply? Since it is a solid substance, you can apply the first law of thermodynamics for the system, because it is a solid substance. So you know that E dot is equal to what? Q dot plus Q dot minus W dot. Okay, no problem. But here, what is W dot? There is no W dot present. Okay, and if you see, if you show what is the system or the control volume here, so this is what is the control volume, and what kind of heat interaction is there. So the heat interaction here is basically some heat is coming in, so maybe some Q dot in is there, some heat is going out, so Q dot out is there, or you can use the symbol small q in and small q out. Okay, so E dot, and what is this E dot? The rate of change of energy within the system. See, we are considering a steady state situation. If we consider a steady state situation, this is an assumption, then definitely with respect to time, the energy within the system is not going to change, because its temperature is not going to change over time. Over time, the temperature is not going to change. That means there is no energy that is storing within the material, right? So ddt of E is equal to 0 for the steady state situation. So that we are considering. So this portion is basically 0. So net rate of heat interaction over this system is equal to 0. So net rate of heat interaction contributes to what? That is Q in minus Q out, because there is no other work interaction present. So it is clear that Q in and Q out, they are same. So if Q in and Q out is same, and along with that you can see that the cross sectional area, this cross sectional area, that is also not changing, right? If the cross sectional area is not changing, then definitely we can say the heat flux along that direction is also constant. So heat flux is not actually changing, because which is coming in at that direction, the same thing is going out in that direction. So heat flux is constant, because that cross sectional area is also constant, and heat flux is nothing but that Q divided by area, which is basically the heat flux. So heat flux at the inlet is same as the heat flux at the outlet. So heat flux is basically constant. So this conclusion we can do if you simply apply the conservation of energy, or the first law of thermodynamics. So heat flux is constant means, now what is the expression of heat flux, you know, from the Fourier's law of heat conduction, that is minus K into del T del X. This is what is the Fourier's law of heat conduction, the heat flux along x direction. We have already considered it is in the only one dimensional heat is transferring, that means only in the x direction heat is transferring. We are not considering in other direction heat is transferring. So if it is not changing in the other direction, so temperature is only function of x, it is not going to change in y and z direction. So temperature is changing only in the x direction, because it is a one dimensional flow. So and it is a steady state situation, so temperature is not also function of time. So in general what happens, in general situation what happens, temperature in general is function of x, y, z, 3 space coordinate and the time coordinate. But here we have considered a steady state situation, that means the temperature, it is not function of temperature. We have considered only one dimensional heat transfer is taking place, that means only temperature variation is taking place along x direction, not in y and z. So temperature in this particular case is only function of x. If temperature is only function of x, then there is no required to write in a partial form, because temperature is only function of x. So what you can write is that Q dot x is equal to minus K into, instead of del T del X, you can simply write dt dx. Okay, so this is what is the Fourier's law of heat conduction reduced for this particular situation. Further, you have seen after applying the first law of thermodynamics for this particular system, that the heat flux is constant. So heat flux, that is constant, And not only that, the thermal conductivity in this problem is also given. That means you have to assume that thermal conductivity is also constant. If heat flux and thermal conductivity both are constant, that means definitely this dt dx is a constant quantity. Okay, so I think this is clear. So if dt dx is a constant quantity, that means it is basically a linear. So temperature gradient is constant, means temperature variation is linear. So dt dx is constant, which means dt dx is constant means we can write this simply by del t by del x. Okay, because it's a linear variation, because dt dx is constant. Why dt dx constant? Because heat flux is constant. Why heat flux constant? Because first law of thermodynamics telling us that thermal conductivity is constant, because that is known or given in the problem. So dt dx is constant, so dt dx is equal to, we can write delta t by delta x. So delta t means nothing but the temperature difference between these two, and delta x is what? That is what is the length, delta x. Okay, so if you just simply use it, you will find that heat flux is equal to k into delta t by L. Okay, remember we have just changed the direction, so that we have taken the positive value of delta t. That means larger temperature minus the smaller temperature, that you have to remember. Then we can say that what is the heat flux in the direction of the lower temperature. So in that way you can find out the heat flux, and if you know the heat flux in that direction, simply multiply it by the area and you can find out the heat loss. Okay, this is a simple problem. Important things, the assumptions, you see it is a steady state condition assumption. It is a one dimension heat conduction through the wall and the constant thermal conductivity. These are the important assumptions in the problem. Now comments, note the direction of heat flow and distinction between the heat flux and the heat rate. These are very important. When we are using heat flux, when you are using rate of heat transfer, these are important. Okay, so these are the things that you have to note along with their unit. Now coming to another problem, and this problem is related to convection, and we have given this example in our earlier section also. So find the surface temperature of an electronic chip. Suppose there is an electronic chip, suppose this is the electronic chip, where maybe this is the chip, and it is given that its dimensions are 1 centimeter. Say this dimension is 1 centimeter and this dimension is 0.8 centimeter. Okay, 1 centimeter, this is 0.8 centimeter, and its height is 1 millimeter. Height is 1 millimeter. Okay, so this is what is the chip, and it is known that the chip is generating heat at 0.06 watt, and so it is given that it is generating heat Q at 0.06 watt, and consider the temperature of the air is 22 degrees centigrade. So here is air, outside here is air, and its temperature T infinity is 22 degrees centigrade. So the question is, if you know the geometry, if you know this is the air, and if you know the heat generation rate by the chip, then find out what is the surface temperature. Find out the surface temperature of the chip. This is what is the question. Find out the surface temperature of the electronic chip. So the question is, you have to find out what is Ts. So this is what you have to find out. And what are the things those are given? So given things, you always try to identify the heat flux Q 0.06 watt, dimension that is given, if you consider this dimension to be L, this dimension to be width W, and this dimension to be the thickness or the height H. So L, W and H, these are given. Okay, 1 centimeter, 0.8 centimeter and 1 millimeter. So these are known, and it is also known what is the temperature of the fluid. The temperature of the fluid is 22 degree centigrade. The question is what is the surface temperature of the chip. It has been given that first consider the let us first consider the natural convection. Okay, let us consider the natural convection first, and then we will consider the forced convection. Now for the natural convection, we have seen that the value of H, generally if it is a still air natural convection, the value of H is in the order of maybe 5 to 25. Let us consider its value is 10. So 10 watt per meter square Kelvin. Okay, so let us consider this is the value of H. We are considering case 2 first. Case 2. And if you consider the case 1, then it will be a forced convection, and maybe in that case its value is say 25 or 30 watt per meter square Kelvin. Okay, so these are the values of H that you can consider. We have just assumed some value because no H values are given in the problem, and we have assumed that these are the expected values, and let us find out the problem is very simple. We know the from Newton's law of cooling that the heat flux is nothing but the heat flux, that is Q by A, is nothing but H into T wall or the T surface minus T of fluid. So here you know what is the value of Q, you know what is the value of area, assuming only from the top surface basically heat is transferring, because 1 millimeter is very small, we are neglecting this heat that is transferring through the other 4 surfaces which are at the side. So from the top surface we are considering the only surface where from the heat is transferring, that you can write in the assumption. Then if you just put those values, what you will get, so Q will be 0.6 watt. What is area? Area is L into W, that means 1 centimeter into 0.08 centimeter. So this will become in centimeter square. If you want to convert it into meter square, you have to multiply it by 10 to the power minus 4. So now it has become in meter square. So always we have to convert it into SI unit, and that will be equal to H. H is in SI unit. So for the case 2, first solve the problem, and then you put the value of Ts, that is unknown, but the T fluid you know is 22. So now if you solve this part, you will get Ts equal to, if you do this calculation, it is coming what? Let us see, the calculator is there. Okay, calculator is there. Okay, 0.06 0.06 into 10 to the power 4 divided by 0.08. What happened? Sorry, 0.06 into 10 to the power 4, that divided by 0.08. Oh, it's not taking. What is the problem? Okay, forget about it. Let us solve it. My calculator. 0.06 into divided by 0.08. So it is coming 750. It is coming 750. Okay, so 750 divided by 10, which is, so it is coming, sorry, it is coming 750 divided by 10 plus 750 divided by 10 plus 22. So it is 75 plus 22, it is around 97 degrees centigrade. So you see 97 degrees centigrade is too high, and if there is no fan, nothing is there, then the chip will be damaged. Okay, 97 degrees centigrade is too high. The chip temperature should not be more than 60 degrees centigrade or 55 degrees centigrade. So now if the fan is now there, and fan will produce some velocity to the air, and because of that, definitely for forced convection the value of H will be increased, maybe 25 or 30, and in that case, in place of 10, if you put it 25 for the case 2. For the case 1, if you solve now, it will be 750. If you simplify this part, it will be 750, and instead of 10, it will be 25 into Ts minus 22. So Ts will be it will be equal to 750 divided by 25 plus 22. So it is coming 52. So it is coming 52 degrees centigrade. So 52 degrees centigrade is okay, and if you want much lower temperature, definitely you have to increase the speed of the fan, and that will basically increase the value of the H, and you can limit the temperature of the chip. So here you can see the practical problems how we can solve. Okay, so thank you.